talk about liberty.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Eleutheria, where we talk about all things liberty. And as you can see, I have a very special guest with me today, the retired Colonel Chris Wyatt. Although I believe that's not the name that's on your birth certificate.
No, it's not. That's the guy was born on Christmas Day, though. So,
Yes.
interesting story. Have you heard that story?
I heard you briefly touch on it the other day about being born on Christmas Day, and so your grandfather said you should be called Chris, but your dad didn't put it on the birth certificate.
Yep.
And
Yeah, I usually tell the story, but you already know the secret. The secret's I was born Christmas Day. Usually I tell the story, people are like, so how do you get that name? Like, well, my father didn't get along. My father was 30. My mother was 19 when I was born. So, apparently my maternal grandfather didn't like my father. So the day I was born, they're arguing about my name. My mother's in the delivery room. I was the first child born in a hospital. Everyone else is born, in the back room at the house prior to that. And so my grandfather said, it's easy. If it's a boy, it's Chris. If it's a girl, it's Chris. Just a question whether you spell it with a K or a C. Girl's a K, C's a boy. My father ran off, filled out certificate of live birth. And so now you already know the punchline. The punchline is that I was born on Christmas Day. That's why he came up with that. So my grandfather won the war. My father won the battle, but my grandfather won the war. So that's why I've been called Chris. It's really handy because people call you up all the time. Hey, Bill, Willie, Will. I don't even hear it. Don't even hear it.
Yeah, my husband has a rather long name and he hates it when people shorten it. So, and I think it's kind of like the Bill, Willie, William
sort of thing
scenario as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying very special guest, but I feel kind of like a piker, like either I've let you down or I'm the unclean, because I look at all your guests and your video and everybody's been on your channel.
No, I go through phases where I'm like very extroverted and I feel confident and I'll ask guests on and they'll agree, and so I'll have like a really jam-packed lineup, and then I'll be like, okay, now I've peopled too much, so I'm just going to stream on my own for a while and probably, so it's definitely not that you're unclean or that I didn't want to have you on. And also, like, I wanted to try and bring a topic about liberty up with you, and it took me a while to actually think of something. So I can lead into that now. And what I thought of is, I've always admired how in the past, I'm not so sure given current circumstances, how very respectful and almost gung-ho-ish Americans can be about their liberties, their civil liberties. Like, they take it really seriously. Second Amendment rights, freedom of speech, all of that. And so I thought that might be a good topic for us to try and delve into, try and understand.
No, I think that's a great topic to talk about. Absolutely. And I agree with you. Americans are, not all, but certainly as a group, are very vocal and proud of our Constitution, even those who've never read it. And I'm not one of that crowd. I've read it many times. In fact, I have a copy of it sitting right here. But even those who've never read it, they've learned enough about it through our history and inculcation and pseudo indoctrination in school, because some of it's indoctrinated, honestly, that they take pride in it. The problem is that Americans, by and large, don't fully understand what it is they support and defend, and why they support and defend it. And people jump to things like when Twitter and Facebook ban you, people are like, no, freedom of speech. No, private corporations, you're not entitled to freedom of speech. Those liberties are yours, protected against government intrusion. So our Constitution protects us against our government abusing us, not against others abusing us. And it's been misused. It's been misused to allow abortion to be the law of the land, which is unconstitutional. It's been used by people to extend rights and benefits that don't exist in the law and that shouldn't exist except at a local level or state level. And so it's interesting, but liberty is very important to Americans. And as you see on my channel, my segment on U.S. politics is entitled "Liberty Under Assault: The Politics of the USA," because it is under assault. As Ronald Reagan said, each generation must refresh the tree or something like he took the quote from Nathan Hale or something like that. But basically, liberty is but one generation from disappearing. Every generation must uphold the values and importance of liberty, or it will disappear. And we see it time and again, and it's under assault here in this country.
I agree. And the elections are, I think they're highlighting it. Well, they're highlighting it for people like you and I that think the way you and I do, or we're maybe on the fence. I think leftists will always be leftists, and they'll defend everything that's going on tooth and nail. But yeah, this whole story is, wow. Like, where do you think it's going to end?
I don't know. This is uncharted territory. We've never been here before. I listened to President Trump's 45-minute speech that he gave a few days ago. I just listened to it this morning. And that's got to be, I mean, people who know me know that I'm not a big fan of Trump. I'm an enthusiastic voter for him and support much of what he's done, but not all of it. But I'm not a fan of the guy. But that doesn't mean I can't like the policies. But I don't. This was one of the best presidential speeches I've ever seen. It was clear, it was honest, it was straightforward. It wasn't hyperbole. Of course, that's how the media portrayed it, if they bothered to cover it all. But I don't know where we're going. This is uncharted territory. We have just 4 days left before the states must certify the results to the Electoral College. The college meets on the 14th, which is also coincidentally the day that the 2023 Rugby World Cup will draw its pool stages in Paris. So, so on the same date, but not that the two have anything to do with each other. But it
is important.
It is to me. But no, it's this is very scary stuff. And let me just tell you something. So I've got a colleague who I worked with at the Africa Command who attacked one of my posts on LinkedIn. And I've been posting thousands of things on LinkedIn over the past almost decade or so. And he came after me and he's like, hey, whoa, what's this? What is this? Because I said something about leftists, and he took exception to it, took it as a personal insult. Well, I didn't know he was a leftist or progressive because when he worked for the government, he kept that to himself, which he's supposed to do. So I never knew that. Anyway, so I didn't intend to insult him, but I have no problem insulting leftists. So he comes back and we get this stream back and forth, and I didn't really have time to deal with him. So he got offended the first time because he's like, well, like a day later, you haven't responded. I'm like everything I do is to answer my LinkedIn context. Trust, come on. Anyway, so I started answering him, and I lost my entire morning yesterday answering emails and stuff like that. So I answered this guy, and he basically, we got to a point where he came back and he said, so you would say that it's not legitimate, because I used the term evil to describe leftists, and he took offense to that. He's like, and he accused me of calling people to violence. I'm like, what are you reading? I said awake. Awake doesn't mean to go get arms and shoot people and overthrow things. Awake means to stop sleeping. I said, stop being sheeple, awake to what's happening around you. Be aware. That's what that means. And he's playing all these leftist games with me. And he said, so you mean to say that it's not okay for people to want to change to do this, universal education, free post-secondary education and universal healthcare and all that? I said, no, those things are perfectly fine for people to aspire to. But when people undermine the Constitution, how are they undermining the Constitution? Well, they're lying about the Constitution. Well, no, they're not. Yes, they are. They're lying about the purpose of the Electoral College in order to change the voting system, and not understanding or not caring that the Electoral College prevents tyranny of the majority in this system. Anyway, there's a whole list of things. It just drives me nuts. These people, they're not genuine. And what pisses me off about this, Beth, is that, for instance, I did that video on Fox News, the death of Fox News. And someone wrote on there this morning, I saw a comment in there basically saying something like, well, this is the gist of what they said. Basically, your feelings are just hurt because Fox isn't supporting Trump. And I wrote back and I said, then you're not paying attention. When Fox went in the trunk for Trump in 2015, they were all in. They became basically the Trump super PAC. And at the time I said, I can't watch Fox anymore. This isn't objective. And I didn't actually like Trump, and I didn't want him to be my candidate. So that's why it irritated me. But I was consistent after he became the candidate and I voted for him. I said, this is wrong. All they do is it's rah, 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 Donald Trump. That's not the job of a news media. The news media is supposed to report the facts objectively. Opinion shows, sure. Sean Hannity, he wants to lick Donald Trump's boots. That's fine. He can be a sycophant. That's an opinion show. But when I watch news, I shouldn't be getting news going, ooh, Donald Trump's like now you see with the media. President-elect Joe Biden has 2 puppies. We're going to ask him really important national security questions now. President-elect, what did you call the new puppy? It's not news. It's not news. That's idiotic. It's drivel. So yeah, and that's why I'm kind of going off on a riff, but that's kind of an example of how broken things are and our liberties under assault. Is the media is not even objective on anything, any of the media.
No,
There's
from
virtually
both sides.
yeah, from both sides, exactly right. And now there's almost nothing left on the right except for talk radio and a few print publications. That's it. There's nothing left from the right. There's very little in the center. Just nobody wants to live in the center. It's frustrating because that's where the media is supposed to be, in the center, and reporting on both sides and the middle. So it's just, yeah, liberties under assault in so many different ways around the world. We see it with the National Coronavirus Command Council in South Africa, an undemocratic, unelected, unaccountable, capricious body full of illiterate buffoons who couldn't put two sticks together and draw a flame.
Yes, we definitely do not have liberties in South Africa.
Nope.
Currently. And I don't think anybody is really willing to fight for them. It's quite disappointing that there's only a handful of us that are willing to put everything on the line.
It is interesting, Beth, interesting dynamic in South Africa in that a lot of people will be happy to bitch and complain about things, but almost nobody's willing to stand up and do something for it. I don't have any use for Julius Malema. He's an oxygen thief. He's a dangerous domestic terrorist. But I do have to respect the fact that at least he does something. He breaks the law, but I'm not encouraging people to break the law like Julius Malema does, but at least he does something. You know, he wasn't doing anything for a long time, but now he's doing things. Unfortunately, what he's doing is illegal. They're criminal actions, and the state's looking the other way. But you don't see people doing other things. So, for instance, let me ask this question, Beth. This is not directed to you, but to the audience. But at least, okay, so for 26 years, we've seen farmers and their children and their families being murdered, their farm workers or managers in South Africa. Why is it only in August of this year that finally enough people are paying attention to this issue in South Africa, when I've known about it for 26 years, and actually it went on before that, just the number has increased, and it's really gotten out of control since about 2008, and this year it's really off the charts. But why are there not? Now, I know there are some rural patrols and such, but you know, for instance, Valerie from Black Monday, she's been her farm has been attacked like 8 times. She's a target because she's an organizer for Black Money. Why aren't people rushing to her defense? Why isn't there some measure in place to protect her, her family, and her farm? People know she's a target. It's just a matter of time before that woman gets killed. The way things are going, this is crazy. So why aren't people doing things that are proactive? And there's lots of answers and lots of excuses for it, but it's just really frustrating. I see other people try to do proactive things like raise firefighting equipment to help put out arson. That's a proactive step because you know these people are going to do it, but it's just really frustrating to see people not take any action.
It is. It's incredibly frustrating. Like, I believe there was a protest planned during lockdown by, I forget which group. Was it the I'm Staying group that had a spin-off or whatever? It doesn't matter. 5 people showed up. I mean, you know, and this is the thing, is like people like me that seriously cannot afford to be arrested, because if I get arrested, then there's no one to look after my children whilst my husband works and earns the money that keeps the roof over our head. So, you know, when we know that there's only going to be 5 people showing up, we know our chances of getting arrested are higher, so we don't show up.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's not what I was. I know you didn't take it as an attack on you, and that's not. No, but I'm not necessarily talking. I'm not talking about demonstrations and such. For me specifically, I'm talking about but concrete action. For instance, you know, when people were getting all emotional on my channel, I lost some subscribers on my channel because I urged caution and I urged people not to go to Brockenfell. What do you mean? Well, we've had enough. Where do we draw the? How long do we have to take this? Okay, well, you took it for 26 years, and now you're going to take issue with me because I give you some good advice not to go get yourself killed or arrested at an idiotic thing. You saw what we saw what the EFF did. They showed up with pungas, knob carries, golf clubs, and the parents, when they showed up there, all they came with was anger and attitude. You think that's going to save the day? 24 white and colored parents showing up against 5,000 armed EFF thugs. Now, the EFF are a bunch of cowards. They only beat up when they outnumber you. But I think 5,000 to 50 is a big, kind of outnumbered. So, when I admonish people, because I did a little bit of admonishing because I got tired of being attacked for it, I caution people, then I admonish people, and I lost subscribers. So what? If people just want to be hotheads and get themselves killed, they're not doing their kids any favors. I mean, if your parents at Brockenfell and you're going to show the EFF, you're going to draw a line in the sand, and you show up and you get arrested, and both parents are there, well, who's going to take care of your children when they come home? No, they're going to go into care. Exactly. You want your kids in state care in South Africa? That's a recipe for horror.
Yeah. And that, this is it. I was just trying to illustrate that that might be one of the reasons why
Yeah,
people
gotcha.
don't take the chances, because that's my personal reasons. But yeah, I mean, there's situations that you know what the outcome might be, like
Hmm.
Brackenfell could have been. And so maybe it's just better if you just either stay behind your own picket line or just don't go,
No, no,
you
I got
know?
that. But my frustration is that people complain incessantly, but they take no action. And for instance, the easiest action to take is to be registered to vote and go vote. And I'm really, frankly, tired of hearing South Africans say, "Well, it doesn't matter." Well, yeah, it doesn't matter because you don't bother. 17 million 17 million eligible voters didn't vote in 2019. That's more than the people that are about the same number of people that voted. Actually, half the voting like didn't bother to show up. And people, and I get it from white South Africans and even color South Africans. Yeah, but you never get black South Africans. What do you mean you'll never get black South Africans? The DA, even though it fumbled the ball and lost the plot, still got 17% of black voters in Gauteng. 17%. So if you get 17% after screwing the pooch and pretending to be ANC light, imagine what you can do when you actually advocate for liberty and for jobs and prosperity. So parties don't really try. And I keep saying this, and I've had guests from different political parties on my channel. I keep saying, hey, you should be out. They're not. Are you seeing anything from the Freedom Front Plus and Kada Freedom Party, the UDM, African Christian Democratic Party, or the DA? I don't see anything. There's nothing in the news. They're not, no rallies, no commercials, no adverts, no billboards. I mean, if I was the DA, I'd have billboards all over by the toll stations in Gauteng, by those tolls.
Yes.
I'd put them up
Yes.
because people are looking up when they go into those toll things, those stupid, exposing you to burning off the radiation on Mars kind of stations, what they look like, and you drive under those things. I'd have billboards right next to that, and I have pictures of somebody standing in queue at the package store trying to buy some, Casa Lager or something like that with a big, red circle with a line through it going, sorry, not for you today. ANC says no alcohol. It's lockdown. Or, people trying to smoke and someone smacking a cigarette out of their hand saying, well, brought to you by the ANC. I mean, those are simple things. And people are like, oh, they're all going to forget. Of course they're going to forget because you're not reminding them. You're not reminding them. You have to remind them of how disastrous ANC is and explain to them. And this nonsense. See, when somebody says black people never vote for anyone else, that's bigotry and racist. How can you speak for 43 million black people? You can't. You can speak for a few million black people who will always vote that way, regardless of what's going on. But the bottom line is you can't speak for 43 million black people. You can only speak for the people you actually know. And when I say I'm talking about black, white, and Indian South Africa, it's not just whites who say that. So it's very frustrating. And to me, it's the same thing on this side. Now, for Trump, people knew this was a serious election. Trump got 13, 14 million more ballots than he did in 2016. That says an awful lot about people turning out enthusiasm. He got 57,000 people to a rally in Western Pennsylvania in a county that doesn't have 57,000 residents. So everybody came there to see him. It wasn't like they just rolled out of their backyard. The enthusiasm was off the chart. Now, of course, 80 million fictional ballots for Joe Biden. That's a whole other story. But Donald Trump got like 13, 14 million more ballots than he got last time. That is successful. In Pennsylvania, in virtually every county, the Republican Party registered at least 10,000 more voters than they had in the last election, and they got a turnout that was higher than the last election, although the vote's a little fishy here. But the point is that they did an effort, and that's Republican Party, which is not particularly good at doing this. They actually did something. In South Africa, I don't see any effort even remotely similar. I will say that in Namibia, we saw a very impressive outing here in the regional and local elections last week, in which SWAPO got a PK. Boom! They got smacked right upside the head. They have been smacked hard. They have lost control of the capital. It now belongs to the opposition parties in a coalition. They have lost control of Swakopmund, Luderitz, Rehoboth, Maltahura, all the places in the South Karas. The only places they control, they even lost the Caprivi Zipfel, the Zambezi district. The only part they control is the northern part of the country, northern third, and seats here and there. So SWAPO at the regional and local level is not running the country anymore, and they are embarrassed. But the opposition parties, there's a party that was organized in August, Beth, that got 17% of the vote in the regional elections, and it got
Wow.
24% of the vote in the municipal elections. They just became a party in August. In
Wow.
August.
That's
So, I mean,
impressive.
that's incredibly impressive. People say, well, Chris, your channel's really growing. I wish my channel grew as fast as the party in Namibia did.
Yes. That would be awesome. Okay, this might be a good time for me to just pause and thank everybody for viewing my video today on my live stream with the Colonel. And please will you hit that like button so that we can help drive some viewership. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you. Yes,
Cool.
because we'd all like to see such massive growth and get our messages out there. Because I think, let me steer away from using the term right wing. I think us conservative-like people that want to conserve our way of life and our traditions and things like that, would actually like our message to get out there. So the way you
Well,
can help that.
I think, Beth, that a problem I have with left and right wing is that there's no. I mean, it's rare that you find someone that's all of one thing or another. So, for instance, I'm conservative, but I mean, I'm Inspector Gadget. I'm an early adopter of all technology. I used to use iOmega. I had the very first MP3 player, the Diamond Rio 32 megabyte player. I ordered. I couldn't even get it because the Radio Recording Industry of America got an injunction to prevent them from selling it. That was the first MP3 player. So I had to wait 4 months until a federal judge lifted the injunction, saying, nope, it's fair use, just like a Betamax, just like a VHS. People record for personal use. So I had the very first MP3 player. I used a GSM phone before anybody in America ever heard of one, yada, yada, yada. I built computers. So that's a conservative. And that's obviously somebody that's willing to change, someone that's willing to adapt. But people oftentimes box everyone in. And so being conservative doesn't mean that you're unwilling to change. It just means that you are attached to the values that matter and you value them, and you shouldn't. And like for instance, we have electoral college here. I am adamantly opposed to the removal of electoral college because I understand its purpose, and its purpose has been proven several times in that it prevents tyranny of the majority, which is a critically important thing to deal with, and a lot of people lose sight of that. So anyway, the labels I'm not a fan of. I've never liked that. Being being conservative, someone calls you right wing. What does that mean? Because what they're trying to do is denigrate you, because they'll throw Klansmen and fascist in with the right wing and say, oh, you're with them. No, I abhor them just as much as I abhor the black supremacists and Black Lives Matter. They're both racist and bigots, and I have no use for them. And that, to me, puts me squarely in the center.
Yes. Yeah. If we start putting labels on stuff, then we actually end up mislabeling ourselves in so many unintended ways.
I agree.
So,
Yep.
but yeah, I don't know. People like to call us the right-wing cabal, so
Oh, that's you guys.
yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't count. I'm not really South African, so.
Well, I've referred to you in the past as an honorary South African because of your the work that you do on behalf of South Africans, because you have that platform that sort of seems to catapult you into a more international market.
Mhm.
Whereas those of us that are streaming from South Africa, we tend to get only get recommended to South Africans. So yeah, you help us get the word out, and we appreciate it.
Well, I'm trying, and thank you for that. Yeah, no, definitely trying. And on that front, as I've mentioned on my stream recently, my non-South African audience has been growing. I used to have 70% South African subscriber base and about 10 or 12% America. Now it's about 23% in the US, and it's the only place that's not growing is the UK. What's up with that, Hendo? Are you on here, Hendo? What's going on with the UK? Why aren't these people in the UK? No, I'm just kidding. But actually, this is interesting. Namibia now represents about 3% of the viewing time on my channel, which is astonishing. There's like nobody in Namibia, and 3% of my viewership, out of hundreds of thousands of hours a month watched, is coming out of Namibia, which is awesome. That's really cool. Now, some of that's from black nationalists in Namibia who want to attack me as a racist because I did an objective report on the poaching of the suspected poaching and the shooting of 4 fishermen on Sududu Island. And because I didn't say that, the Botswana Defense Force murdered them, that makes me a racist. I'm not really sure how me commenting on black people shooting black people in 2 black African countries makes me a racist. But anyway, we'll go along with that.
Yeah. Yeah. The mental gymnastics that people perform. Wow.
It is really astounding, but I'm accustomed to it. I've been dealing with it for decades. And, the bottom line is that, you know who you are. All of us know who we are. And if we're willing to know who we are and ourselves, then we should be comfortable in our shoes. So I'm comfortable with my shoes. I know who I am. I know who I'm not. And so while that stuff is annoying, some of it's actually entertaining. It's the argument. It's funny because I've also been called a racist by people online who are actually saying so in a racist fashion. And they're
Yes.
missing the entire irony that, hey, dude, hey, pot, kettle, you're black.
Yes. Yeah. It's quite amazing to behold sometimes.
It is. Well, let's talk about liberty, I guess. So in South Africa, you don't have freedom of speech. You can't say certain words. You'll be imprisoned as a felon for saying certain words. You can murder farmers and nothing happens, but you say a certain word, you'll go to jail as a felon. You'll be in prison, use your liberty. You guys under this lockdown have no liberty whatsoever. People being arrested for sitting on a beach, for surfing, for standing in their backyard, because we all know that's dangerous. Crazy stuff. What's this?
Virtual Royal asks, do you plan to pivot your consultancy in security and intelligence into a political consultant?
Well, yeah, I haven't really done much in the way of intelligence consulting. It's been some security consulting, but most of what I've been doing is business related. So I've been offering advice to corporations. Yeah, no, I'm happy to offer political consulting. I've been offering free political consultancy advice on my streams to the political parties in South Africa and to South Africans for months, and nobody's listening. So I'm beginning to think I can't make any money in the political consultancy business, because if the advice is free and nobody's listening, what am I going to get charging people for it? No, but seriously, yeah, no, I'm happy to do that. In fact, I would enjoy that because a lot of people find politics to be dirty, and it is, but it's also critically important. Politics, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, influences how we live and how we don't live. So I think it's important to get the right message out there and help people. So yeah, I'm happy to offer. I guess maybe that question came up because I had Jack Miller in the party or on the channel recently, and Jack, I said something, and Jack's like,
your job.
Yeah, essentially, I mean, I think he was joking, but he was like, yeah, hey, you should be with us. Yeah, that sort of thing. No, I'm happy to do it. I mean, it's I have been following politics, and I can't say involved because I was in the Army. So I mean, I was limited in what I could do, but I've been following politics my entire adult life. When I was a kid, I decided that I would run for president in the year 2000. Because I would be of age, and I said I have no chance of ever winning, but I'm gonna learn about my country. I was like a teenager in high school, like 14, 15 when I made this plan. I said in 2000 I'm gonna run for president. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk all across the country, and I'm gonna get registered in raise signatures and tell people I want to run for president, and I'm gonna learn all about the country that way. Now, by the time I was that age, I already been all over the country, all over the world. And I was actually deployed overseas in Tunisia, so I couldn't campaign in the U.S. in 2000. But that was always my plan, was to do that. And I was a campaign manager when I was at university I was underage. I was 17. I couldn't vote, but I was a campaign manager and helped get one of my classmates elected to the city council, the first student at Ohio University ever elected to the city council. And so I was always into politics, and I voted in every election since I've been eligible, and I followed it for a long time. So I'm very familiar with it. I'm also an analyst, so I'm perfectly capable of offering good advice. Well, advice, maybe not good advice. That's an opinion, I guess, But yeah, no, I'm happy to do the political consultancy. I think South Africa needs some political consultants because I'm dismayed at the ineffectiveness of the opposition parties.
Yeah, they just don't seem to be able to get their act together.
No.
Not consistently, anyway.
Yeah, the only time that there was consistent performance was when the DA skyrocketed after Tony Leon gave up the leadership and Helen Zille took over the party. The DA skyrocketed and it reached a plateau. Helen stepped back, and then the party did a little better for a while, but then they lost traction, and then they brought Musi Maimane in, and he completely lost the plot. And so they've kind of stagnated. So I don't know if the DA is going anywhere. We'll see. Ronaldo is convinced they're going places, but I'm not.
Look, they lost me. They really did lose me. We voted for the DA to get them into Johannesburg in 2016.
Yep.
And they formed some not great coalitions in Johannesburg and Tshwane. And just from there, everything went downhill because I really expected to see a turnaround in Johannesburg after they got power of the metro. And there was nothing. Like, they still couldn't get traffic lights to work consistently. Just simple things like that. And so I was just, yeah, no, not going to be wasting my time voting for a party that more and more obviously has been acting quite fascist-like in small ways. But it's those small ways that set up the red flags, and yeah, so I jumped ship last year.
Well, not to beat up on the DA or to compliment them, but just for some perspective. I understand where Ronaldo's coming from. He lives in Port Elizabeth, Nelson Mandela Bay, and arguably under the DA in the 2 years that Athol Trollope was a mayor, the roughly 2 years, despite the fact that their coalition was constantly under assault, and then they had members who wanted bribes, and so they're constantly fighting just to keep the mayorship. Despite that, in 2 years, Nelson Mandela Bay was cleaned up immensely. Roads were fixed, pipes were repaired. They did amazing. The DA is a bunch of clowns if they don't get their act together and just show a documentary about how Nelson Mandela Bay looked, how it looked under their 2 years, how it improved, and how it's gone back to the rats since they've lost control. That would be the best propaganda and the best campaign video they could ever do if they could do a couple short clips on that. But they haven't done it. Now, by the same token, they've been in control in Cape Town forever, since Christ was a corporal in Galilee. And, immediately the DA will say, well, look, it's not our fault. It's not our fault that crime is bad because, SAPs are a national force. Yeah, but SAPs are not responsible for the municipal water situation. The ANC is only partly responsible for the municipal water situation. They're not responsible for zoning and for ordinances and for governance in Cape Town. That's on you guys and in the Western Cape. And so the governance failures are your fault. Now, if it's a question you don't have enough resources, then you should be coming up with ways to get better resources or shifting your focus. So they've had control for a long time, and arguably the mother city is not improving, I would say.
No, I believe that it's actually getting worse and worse by the day. So
some people say.
I was last down there in 2006, so I'll report back in 2 weeks.
All right. Well, I've been there more recently than you, so I can speak authoritatively.
Yes. But yeah, it'll be interesting for me to notice the difference from when I was last there, which was a long time ago.
That was a while ago. I see Hendo's in the chat now. So,
yes.
Hendo, if you weren't there earlier, I was asking how come my UK viewership isn't growing. What's up with that? Anyway, it's growing everywhere else, including Mars.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I haven't seen that appear on my stats. But apparently I don't have enough viewership to populate a lot of my stats. So, I'll just have a little one-person pity party over here about my YouTube channel. No, I'm not going to go there. That was a joke.
Well, we asked people to come over the other day, and I'm looking. I don't see your numbers budge, so I'm thinking I failed you there. I'm going to have to push it again here. Or did they jump?
They did jump. It seems to be that 300 subscribers is like a glass ceiling that I need to smash, and then maybe it'll really start climbing. I don't know. It's been a slow, long hog from 200 to 300, but we're there. We're close, aren't we?
Yeah, 299. Yeah. So that's really close. Cool. It is strange, and of course you're not helped by the fact that YouTube takes subscribers away all the time. I'm sure that's happening to you as well. YouTube made a mistake there for your mobiles, because you look at your stats as a content creator in the app on here, the YouTube Studio. It's very different than what you see on the PC. You can't see the same charts and graphics. So, for instance, on my mobile, I can see the number of daily subscribers that are gained or lost. Yes. But I can't see that I'm not very easily on the PC. You can get to it, but it's a bar chart and it's not as good. Here, it's actually like a physical graph. So, in August, they actually modified this and they showed you the number of subscribers you gained, and they had the plus number and then the minus number. So you could see how many lost. And then you saw which the total net gain or loss was. Well, that's a mistake, because then I saw that, in August, I gained 1,500 subscribers, but YouTube deleted 974 of my subscribers. And in 1 month. That is a lot. That's a lot. So I had a net gain of 600 over the course of a month, which is good, but I should have had like a 3,000 gain or 2,500 gain. And the reason they argue they do it is that they're deleting fictitious accounts. If half of the viewership, or 50% of the viewership that you're getting is from fictitious accounts, then there's something wrong with YouTube, not with the content creators.
Absolutely. Yep. And I mean, there might be, maybe their argument is that, it's bought subscribers. these companies
Right.
that have.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I know because they reached out to me when I first started my channel. We can get you 1,000 subscribers. And my thought at the time, I was just very modest. I was, just trying to make some videos, just go to check it out. I was honestly wasn't worried about numbers at all or anything, and had no plans to monetize the channel. So like, buy subscribers. I'm like, that feels dirty. I mean, if I can't attract people to my channel, then I mean, why would I want to just, I've got 1 point. Although we are getting Dominion software in here next week, and I will have 1.36 million subscribers by January 1st. So just to let you know.
Oh, okay, cool. How do I do that?
Well, you contact this company in Guangzhou in China, and you can use PayPal. You can.
Yeah.
It's subscriber fraud.
Yeah. Well, on the topic of subscriber fraud, I don't see the point in having people subscribe to my channel that don't value the content.
Yeah, I agree.
I really don't. I'd rather keep slogging away, doing the hard graft, and just keep trying to attract the right kind of viewership, as opposed to having some fake accounts that never watch.
Yeah.
What's the point in that?
But the one thing that you do have to do, Beth, and we're getting a little away from Liberty, but I think it's an interesting conversation, is that Ronaldo, it's not fair to say he doesn't get this because I haven't had a conversation with him. I just heard him talk about his channel, but I think Ronaldo misses the point in some respects when he talks about, how his channel stagnates at times. Although, when I started watching him, he had like 30,000. Now he's got 90,000 subscribers. So that's not exactly stagnated to me, but and honestly, when Ramaphosa started with his comedy hour, also known as Addresses to the Nation earlier in the year, that's when Ronaldo's channel really took off because he had like 30 some thousand, then suddenly he had 42, then 50. But the thing about this is that you have to constantly attract new people for two reasons. Number one, YouTube is taking accounts off either because they say they're fictitious or they must have an algorithm. If somebody hasn't watched your channel in 6 months or 8 months or a year, they just delete them, because that happens too. They also do malicious stuff because Hendo has been deleted from my channel subscription twice, and he's a moderator on the same day by YouTube. So, I mean, that happens. So that's the first reason, because if you don't keep growing, not just for the sake of growth, but just to tread water, you have to grow just to tread water and get new subscribers. Then the second reason is that while you get viewers who are sticky, and what I mean by sticky is they glom onto your channel, they like your channel, like your content, they're very reliable. Like I can look over here right now. There's Hendo, there's now Bram Janssen von Rendsburg, there's Laura. I wouldn't say Laura's sticky. She comes a lot, but I wouldn't call her sticky. She may or may not like that. And then there's Erica, of course. I look over, I see all those folks. Stronger Together has been on my channel. These are people who come consistently to the channel. It's almost like they're waiting for the show. They're really looking for the programs. So they're there all the time. But even people like that come and go. I mean, so for instance, I had Anna Marie Foster on my channel. She was on there all the time. She had great ideas for guests. She was in contact with me, and boom, boom, boom. And then suddenly she was gone. Well, she got married, so she's got other things on her mind. And so that's what I'm getting at. People not necessarily lose interest, but something else comes up in life. So, I mean, the Right Reverend Rawhide was on my channel all the time. I hope he hasn't passed away because, I mean, he had a heart attack. This is how loyal he was. He had a heart attack, and the same day he was in hospital on his mobile watching Chris White Africa, commenting in the chat when he had a heart attack that day. I'm like, that's some serious viewer there. I haven't seen him in like a month and a half. Robin, who I'm a big fan of, she's from the Western Cape, colored lady. She's on the channel a lot, but she's been sporadic lately too. So the point I'm making is that you have to keep attracting new subscribers because even those devoted to your channel, life takes some other direction sometimes. And even if they want to watch your channel, they may not. And sometimes people just lose interest or we all change. Like Jeremy Nelson sent me a note yesterday. He goes, since your subscriber count really jumped last month, your programs have just been amazing and spot on. I'm thinking, well, dude, weren't they always amazing and spot on? Maybe they weren't. Maybe they weren't. But the point is that whether we realize or not, our channels change and modify, and keeping that sticky base is a challenge. I've watched Ronaldo go from 350 people, 400 people watching him all the time to now he's like 180, 120, 180 most of the time. Sometimes he spikes. And Roman, I've always been envious of Roman because even when he had a subscriber base of like 14,000, he would have 400 people show up. Now that he has 21,000, he typically has 400 to 500 people show up every stream. And frankly, Roman's boring. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, but seriously, so that's a really sticky subscriber base. I'm up to 20,000 subscribers now, and I'm habitually getting at least 100 per stream. And depending on what's going on, I'm getting 100 to 300 in a stream, and sometimes more than that. So I was consistently for a week there getting 250, 300 in every stream, which is really cool. But people they just don't. So anyway, that's why you got to keep growing your subscriber base, because if you don't, it's kind of like your children. If you don't nurture and take care, now I'm not saying your subscribers are your children, but your garden. If you don't nurture and take care of your garden, you don't weed it, you don't prune it, you don't fertilize it, you don't take care of it, it's going to die. That's what happens to your channel. So you got to keep working it.
Yes. Yeah, it's I think also the more we do this, the better we get at it.
That's probably true. Absolutely. I'll confess that. I mean, I'm awesome now. No, I'm just kidding.
You've always been awesome.
Oh, that's very kind of you. But no, you're right. We all do get better polished at this. I mean, you got an intro video now. I mean, everybody's got an intro video. I feel like a freaking rookie out here. I mean, I've just got the one that Talon Besidenhout made for me a while back, and I haven't updated a while. But I even Joe's got this like, whoa. I mean, I was always envious of the Conscious Caracles, opening video, but now they all got videos like that. I'm gonna have to get a graphic artist do some work for me.
Yeah, look, mine was seriously done budget. Like I don't have any video editing software that's paid for, and I can't use things like OpenShot and what's it, DaVinci Resolve and stuff like that, because like I have a boomer brain when it comes to video editing. So I just use Windows Video Editor, and it took me, I don't know, 3 weeks to figure out how to put text over a video clip.
Did someone make that for you, or did you make that yourself? The one you
I
used?
made that. But
Well,
it
that's
took me
impressive.
3 weeks.
Well, you got it done. Look, I'm still sitting here 2 months later with my Stream Deck that's unattached and not hooked up to do any of my little functions, which would be really helpful so I don't have snafus and delays. I got this thing, and it's not that complicated, but I've just not had time to sit down and do it. And Yanni was going to help me, but he and Joe are always playing Call of Duty, so he's kind of busy, or he's moving all the time from one place to another. I think Yanni's had 27 residences this year, so I never know where he's moving to.
I'll kick Yanni's butt for you, okay?
Well, Ronaldo's offered help now too, and then I've gotten busy and haven't got back to him. So, yikes.
Yeah, those two introduced me to the Stream Deck thing, and I'm just like, you know what? I can't deal with OBS. I can't.
Well, here's the thing. Ronaldo has one that has just like 6 buttons or 9, and here's the thing about size matters.
Apparently, I've been told. Yeah,
I've got 15
Ronaldo
buttons.
wants a bigger one.
Yeah, he wants a bigger one. But Yanni has the biggest one. He's got the full size one. He's got the full Monty.
Does he?
He does, I think so.
Oh, he apologized in the comments.
He doesn't have to apologize. I'm just giving him a hard time. He knows that.
He started with a laugh, so.
But see. Okay, now not to pick on Yanni, but there's a good example. Yanni was one of those sticky guys. I mean, Yanni and I were chatting all the time. I was like, man, this guy's kind of cool. Got this budding friendship and everything, and we're chatting all the time. And he's got stuff to do. He's got a day job, and he's got to move, and there's a lot going on. Reese's got a business, and he's got all this stuff going on. And then seriously, I mean, they play Call of Duty like 17 hours a day. So I mean, to be fair, that takes up time. But Yanni was really sticky on the channel, and then like he was gone. Now he pops in occasionally, and he just makes sure he chats so he's seen. That way, I know he showed up for at least 30 seconds of a stream. But anyway, so even the most devout and loyal of your subscribers can be fickle, is what I'm getting at, Beth.
Yeah, I have to admit, 6 o'clock is dinner time in our house, so I do quite often miss your streams. I will pop in if we finish cleaning the kitchen early. I'll like pop in at the end of a stream or whatever. And your night owl stream is generally the time that we're actually going to bed. And I know that if I start looking at my phone screen at that time, I'm not going to get to sleep before 1 o'clock in the morning. There's something about watching live streams at that time that like really wakes my brain up. And it's not the blue light on the screen, because I have put that color thing on. So it's not the blue light, it's my brain. Especially your streams make my brain work. So,
Well,
I tend to watch them the next day.
I think it's a compliment. Well, it's funny because I tried to find the right time because the focus is on Africa, and I wanted to find a time where it was, and during lockdown it was a little bit easier because nobody could work in most places. So during lockdown, I tried different times, and then I found myself suddenly, because Germ started doing streams in my morning time around the same time I was doing. I like Germ's got an audience. I don't want to intrude in his audience. I don't want to compete with him. So I shifted my time. And then I wound up eventually settling on 12 o'clock, or excuse me, 11 o'clock my time, which was 5 o'clock your time. And I figured that's a good time. People aren't eating yet, and some people who are working aren't home yet, but that's fine. I'll catch the people who are home because of lockdown. And then Roman started doing live streams, and he picked the same hour I was doing. And he had 10 times my subscriber base. I'm like, okay, I don't want to compete with this guy. So I moved. And then Roman was pretty good. His program usually ended after 1 hour, and he refused to work on weekends. Roman won't work on weekends. And I do it 7 days a week. 7 days a week, so there's no competition. So I settled in on the 11 o'clock, the 12 o'clock time. I moved to 12 o'clock, which was okay, but it's right in the middle of my day. It kind of screws up my day. And then Roman started running over, and a fair amount of the audience is cross-level. They're subscribers on all the channels, and so people were not coming to my stream because they were still on Roman's stream. And now they got the Pod Bros things going. So, and they, instead of running over 5 minutes, they run over half an hour. So I see a definite difference. And people ask you, are you angry? No, I mean, people watch what they want to watch. There's no obligation to watch my channel or another one. But I try to set my times up that were the most optimal. And also not intruding on known YouTubers so that people could watch what they wanted, live. And that kind of moved in on the dinner hour. And you're not alone. It happens to a lot of people. And that's why a lot of people aren't watching the channel as much. But it's fine. I mean, people can always watch it after the fact. And I had noticed that for the past month or so, I have as much viewership on my live streams after they're over within the first day as what I have on it when it actually happens. Yeah. Because a lot of people can't watch it live and they go back and watch it. So anyway, that's cool. But we're very far from liberty right now.
I know, but this is what happens on this channel. We tend to, it all works together.
Oh, wait a second. Wait. Oh, hold on. Shots fired. Shots fired, ladies and gentlemen. At the Rosemont Mall. Shots fired. Robin is starting a YouTube channel, and she's coming after all of us.
Ooh.
Speaking of Robin, were you in the chat all along when I said nice things about you, Robin? Or are you just showing up?
She's been here almost from the beginning. Robin's actually been a subscriber to this channel for quite a while.
I'm so embarrassed. No, Robin rocks. I love her on the channel, but she's busy. She's got her hands full, and so she isn't always around. But good to see you there, Robin. Yeah, so liberty, it really is under assault in so many ways, and people take it for granted, Beth. They don't appreciate how hard it is to win liberty and how many people have lived without liberty. That's why so many people who come from totalitarian states that come to America and become Americans truly appreciate. Why are you smiling? Did somebody say something?
We broke the glass ceiling.
Did we?
Yes. So thank you.
Okay, my thing is, I'll refresh it. It's still $2.99. Cool. So there were people here watching that weren't subscribers. Shame on you. No. You know what? I need to get better at this, Beth, because I mean, my e-begging lessons or my skills are very weak. I need to watch Ronaldo more to polish them and get myself a dog that sings with me and stuff like that. Because, Ronaldo is very good about, hey, make sure you hit that subscription button. I forget most of the time. The moderators try to tell people, but I realized that for the speech yesterday, there's 300 some people, and I know about half of them weren't subscribers. It should have been like, hey, make sure you push that subscription button in between commenting on Ramaphosa. So yeah, you got 302. Cool. Broke it.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to remember to throw it in there, but yeah, I'm also like some of the people that I watch that say that a lot, they actually annoy me. So I tend to, I've got the little reminder in the intro video for you to subscribe. So if you watch from the beginning, that'll be like, oh yes, I should subscribe because this is the first time I'm watching this channel. And then I say it at the end. I don't like to chuck it in too much in between because I think it can be quite annoying.
Oh, it can be. I was making light of Ronaldo's e-begging skills, but so Laura has said that in all fairness, I never see on my channel. In all fairness, Laura, you're correct. I don't even know what your channel is. Is it the one with the 3 witches brews? I thought that was Beth, and I went to that channel like 1 or 2 times. I could never find it again. I even subscribed, and I can't find it on my subscription list. I probably got unsubscribed by YouTube. So maybe Beth can enlighten me, and I'll check out Laura's channel. It's not intentional, Laura.
Yeah, Laura's channel is called Femme Fatale.
That's the one. Yeah. I subscribed to that and I haven't seen any. So maybe I got unsubscribed.
I'll send you a link on Telegram if you'd like.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
I'll do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. To be fair. Okay. So yeah, no, that's fair enough, Laura. Not a problem.
Yeah. So where were we?
We started to talk about liberty, I think.
Yes. I did also promise that I was going to tell you how you pronounce Eleutheria. And the Greek way is actually Eleutheria.
Okay. And how do you know Greek? Did you learn it?
No, one of my closest friends is Greek. And I mean close in terms of we have a lot in common, and she also lives like 500 meters away from me, which is quite handy.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, and so when I started the channel, she said, yes, that this word is perfect for you and who you are and what you want to achieve. That name is perfect, but she did tell me that I was pronouncing it incorrectly. And then she went on to say, but it's your channel and you do what you want with it. But just know that the Greek way is Eleftheria. So there we go.
There you go. No, I get that, of course, all the time with Afrikaans, but the Afrikaners can't pronounce things the same way, so I'm not taking their abuse anymore. I mean, they pronounce Pearl 35 different ways. It's only how many? It's the same town.
Yeah, it all depends on your Afrikaans accent and how strong it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've given up trying. I'm very English. I can speak Afrikaans with a very heavy English accent, and I understand Afrikaans. But yeah, don't tease me about my accent. At least I try.
No, but Ronaldo's always giving me a hard time. And so I say his name and then he says his name. It sounds exactly the same. Ronaldo, sounds the same to me.
I agree. I think you do well with the.
Well, you just have to think you have a loogie in the back of your throat and then you can do it.
Yeah, just.
But it's impressive when people who are
clearing the Rona. Sorry.
It's there you go, clearing the run. It's impressive when people who are attractive can do that, and you're not really like grossed out. Because I remember I was in Soesterberg Air Base in the Netherlands back in the '90s, and I turned the television on. I was watching this news program, and there was a gentleman who was a Dutch broadcaster, and he was talking, and there was a beautiful, drop dead gorgeous female announcer next to him, and then I'm like, wow, she is so stunning. Just said to myself, and then the camera turned, she's like, oh God, no. Oh no. Oh God, no. Did you just step on a cat? Oh my gosh. No. But no, like when Juanita Duplessis sings and she sings Han Goed, it's like just sounds so beautiful. And I'm like, anyway. Anyway.
I know Portuguese can be quite a spitty and gobbly
oh yeah, no, it hardly, I can't believe it's actually a Romance language. It sounds like Slavic. When I was in Portugal, I'm like, man, these Slovaks or Russians? What's going on here? It's very, it's very harsh,
Very
Whereas
harsh,
Spanish is very soft and melodic, and so is Italian. But yeah, no, it's Portuguese kind of surprised me when I went there. I was like, this is a Romance language? Doesn't sound very romantic to me.
No, it sounds completely different to French, Italian, Spanish. It's like, whoa, but you're all neighbors.
Exactly. No, they must have been the country bumpkins and nobody went to the next valley to visit.
There we go.
Because they didn't have liberty.
Yeah. There we go. Yes, so the channel's byline is Enlightening South Africa Through Liberty. And what would you say is like the best way that we could actually encourage people to start standing up for liberty?
Well, the best way to do it, gosh, I think the best way is to get out amongst people, and you have to have people that are appealing, that are articulate and engaging. Oops, you got kids coming?
My husband is locked out. I'm just going to shout at the kids for them to unlock the door.
Okay.
As I started shouting, girl child ran past.
Okay. Yeah. So, well, it's good that people are locked out. You don't want people just wandering in your house. That's dangerous, especially in South Africa.
I left the key in the door. So I locked the back door and then I left the key in the door.
So he can't turn it, yeah. But no, I think that, but the thing is you have to have articulate, engaging people who can get out amongst people and sell the message and tell them about liberty and about whatever the issue is about politics. I think part of the problem here is that we've got generations of people around the planet now. Now, it's understandable in a lot of countries outside the U.S., but in the U.S., I really don't get. Well, I know how it happened, but it's really disheartening to see it here. Government. People forget that government isn't natural. We didn't just like fall out of the sky and there was a government around us. People organized governments to protect our collective interest and defend us against a foe. That was the initial reason we had governments, to protect us against threats, outside threats. You know, the guys and the gals from the next camp coming over with clubs and raping and pillaging. Oops, I hear feet running on the floor.
Yes, the Labrador donkey has come inside.
Oh, okay. So the Labrador. So people lose sight of the fact, just because we're born into a system, a political system, and there's a government there, people seem to think it's natural for government to be there. It's not natural. It is a creation of human communities, polities that create governments to serve our needs. But people have this completely backwards the other way around. They keep acting as if we are here to serve government. You have people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in this country seem to think that we are here to serve government. The government is the solution to everything. It's not. It's actually the root of many of our problems. And so you have to have articulate people and get out and explain to people that it's not natural for you. I mean, SASA grants, why would you want a SASA grant? That's failure. Mm-hmm. I realize you're hungry, but you should be more interested, more concerned about, how do I get an education? How do I get a job? How would I better myself? You know, it's particularly distressing in South Africa, and I've told people this for about a decade now, that instead of inculcating the values in young South Africans to want to aspire to become entrepreneurs and doctors and lawyers and nurses and soldiers and pediatricians and farmers and agronomists, young people look to the African National Congress and go, I want to be a ward counselor. That way I can get my fingers on the tenders. And so we see this play out in places like KwaZulu-Natal, where we saw over 150 assassinations of local ward counselors by other ANC members. Why? So they wiped out their competition, and now they're the ward counselor, and they get to put their fingers into the tender and profit from it. This is a phenomenon that has been prevalent throughout Africa and was not prevalent in South Africa for the longest time. Before the ANC came in, the National Party had a lot of its own challenges and a lot of shortcomings, but it certainly didn't generate a society that expected that the only path to success was to be a government employee or a politician. But that's been the norm in much of Africa, and that's pretty scary. It's pretty scary because government doesn't create anything except trouble. It can solve some problems with the right resources and the right leadership, but it doesn't create anything. Government doesn't it doesn't run airlines properly. Look at South African Airways. It's a disaster. The company was profitable under apartheid when they couldn't land in any country in Africa and had to burn fuel flying around Africa, and they still turned a profit. Mm-hmm. Eskom is an absolute disaster. It was modern to the date that it was taken over by the ANC, and now it's an abject failure. And how many billions have been wasted on that plant up there on the border with Botswana? It's still not in function. They still haven't got that thing up. It's just, governments are not the answer. And you have to have people who can get out and explain to people that it's not natural for you to go and go, okay, well, the government doesn't solve your problem. You're just pawning off your shortcomings onto someone else to do it for you. And you're not embarrassed by that? You think that's okay? Who raised you? That's not the proper way to grow up in life.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. We need to actually start reminding people that government is only there to serve us, to provide the minimum protections that we need from outside forces, and the rest we get to choose for ourselves. And I think the major thing that needs to happen is we need to decentralize a lot of government. Because what works in Pretoria doesn't work in the Northern Cape and doesn't work in KwaZulu-Natal. And I mean in terms of infrastructure providing, provision, and policing, just basic things. Mm-hmm. What works in the city is not going to work in the Northern Cape and other cities. So yeah, that's definitely going to be my next focus, is looking at the bloated government and how much we could actually look at getting rid of if we manage to get rid of the ANC.
That's a good point. I mean, if you look at Zuma's cabinet, he had like 72 ministers. That's insane. 70, I think it was 72. I mean, maybe it was 68. But the point is, now it's down in the 30s, thank goodness. But that's absolutely insane, because every minister comes with an entire staff and an entire budget allocation. And you're not generating more productivity and efficiency. You're just lumping things together. For instance, I could fix a whole bunch of stuff in South Africa tomorrow. You know what I'd do? There'd be no sports minister. Why do you have a minister of sport?
Yes. This this is what I want to look at. I want to get rid of the Minister of Sports and Culture,
Yeah.
whatever NDZ's actual job title is when she's not making
Irrational
stupid.
affairs, non-traditional governance and irrational affairs, I think it is.
Yes, I like that one. Yeah. You know what? I actually want to do a deep dive into just how many ministries we have and how many we can actually get rid of.
You could get rid of 75% of them, and you'd see improvement in governance in South Africa, not a degradation. And a fair number of those employees could slide in other ministries where they could be used to pick up the functions done elsewhere. But you don't need to duplicate these grand poobah minister of this, minister of that, which is what they do. It's another form of patronage. It's all about creating things so that you can take care of your friends and allies, and it's really, really pathetic. It's embarrassing. It's too many ministries. Yeah. In fact, like in my country, the fact we have a housing and urban ministry department, or it's not a ministry, we call it a department, but the housing and urban development, that's ludicrous. Why do we have the federal government involved in housing and urban development? That's not their job. That's a local responsibility. So I could eliminate that position. I could eliminate the Department of Education. They don't serve a purpose other than to waste our money. And set standards that are, not reasonable for the country. So there's two right there. If I was president of America, I'd already be out 2 cabinet positions right there, and we go from there. South Africa, I could get rid of 3/4 of them.
Yeah, and I agree with you on the education one as well. As a homeschooling mom, I 100% agree on that one. But we can do away with that in South Africa.
Yeah, well, I mean, the education in South Africa is embarrassing. I mean, it's worse than the Bantu system was. You have literacy rates that are lower today than they were under apartheid. How sad is that for South Africa? The great party, the great African National Congress, founded in 1912, founded back then for liberating South Africa. Equality. Yeah, equality of piss poor outcomes. You're not educated. You've got nothing but illiterate kids floating around the country. And you're not embarrassed that you lower the standards to 30, 22% during certain periods for passing marks to enter university. And then you wonder why idiots run around and tear down statues and make asinine comments like science must fall. How about morons must fall? And you should start with yourself.
Yes, I agree. I couldn't have ranted any better, to be honest. In fact, I might steal that.
Well, feel free to. It's just crazy stuff. It's and what happens, and see, here's the part that's missed, Beth, and this is right directly to liberty. By keeping the masses ill-informed and poorly educated, you enslave them. You turn them into serfs because they live from what you feed them information-wise, and their expectations are framed by what you want their expectations to be, not by what's possible, not by what's capable. I mean, frankly, if I was South African, I'd be embarrassed for South Africa about the education standards, and incredibly embarrassed. And gosh, we could go on for hours about this. You have so many South Africans that have no idea what their history of their country is. And you actually have people who I want to feel sad for them, but because it's a lie, I can't feel sad for them. People who show up on farms and go, you must get out of here. You've stolen this land. And the guy's standing there with his camera because he knows that, he could be accused of racism. So he's got his mobile and he's recording. He goes, no, this is my farm. No, you stole this land. No, I bought this farm. No, in 1994, the ANC bought all the farms in South Africa and you've stolen it from the people. You must leave. I bought this farm 30 years ago. I'm paying a mortgage on it. The ANC bought farm. The ANC didn't buy anything. They bought a few select farms, and they still have tens of thousands of hectares that they're holding on to. They haven't turned over to anybody, but they never bought all the land in South Africa. But there's people that actually believe that, Beth, not just lying. They actually believe that because they've been told that, and they're not sophisticated enough to go 1 + 1 is 2, not 27 because the government told you it was 27.
Yeah, no, I agree that the education standards are doing this country a great disservice, and at the end of the day, it's each individual that is being done that great disservice. So
absolutely, and society as a whole suffers on so many levels. In this country, for a long time, I was concerned about financial literacy, but now I'm becoming concerned about scientific and English literacy in this country. People also in the civics. When I was a kid, when you went to middle school, junior high school, you had to take a civics class. And in all the states, you normally had to take a state history class as well. So when I was in Pennsylvania in 7th grade, I took Pennsylvania history, and it was fascinating. Pennsylvania has an amazing history. It's from the early stages of the colonization of North America, of course, before that with Native Americans, but the history of European arrivals in Pennsylvania and exploration and wars with Native Americans, such. It's fascinating history. And then I went to Ohio, and I was in 8th grade in Ohio, and they made me take Ohio history. I said, yeah, but I already had Pennsylvania history. I said, yeah, but you don't live in Pennsylvania. I'm like, okay. So I took Ohio history, and this was Ohio history every day.
Oh, no.
It was boring by comparison, to say the least. But what I also took is we took civics. And in junior high school, you take civics so that you become a good citizen and you learn what your system of government is. We learn about the Constitution, the Electoral College, the history of our country, how the politics were formed, the amendments to the Constitution, all those things. And then in high school, we were required in our junior year to take American government, which was more specifically focused on just government, not just the aspects of citizenship and civics. And that informed you and made you literate as a citizen so you could understand how government worked, what your role was, why voting is important, and all those things. That was back then. When I came back from Tunisia after 9/11, that was a year after the 2000 election, and all these people were still grousing about 2000 election a year later. George Bush stole the election. He didn't get enough votes, and the Supreme Court gave him election. I'm like, what are you talking about? George Bush didn't steal anything. Well, he didn't win the election. Yeah, he did win the election. No, but Al Gore got more votes. I'm like, it's not germane. What's your point? What do you mean it's not germane? You mean Tito, Michael? That's a Jackson joke. Jermaine, Tito, Michael. Anyway. Okay. No. And so I said, no. I said, it's not germane. We don't vote for presidents based on popular vote. What? Anyway. So, and I started talking, and I talked to my sister, and I found out that she never had to take civics. She was 2 or 3 years. I'm the eldest, 2 or 3 years behind me. When she went through school, a few years behind me, there was no civics. They'd eliminated in middle school. By the time my brother, who was a year behind her, went to high school, he didn't have to take American government to graduate high school. So no civics, no American government. And we wonder why Americans are such morons when it comes to our own government and how easily they're misled and they're like sheep. Like all these people, like the guy who's attacking me. Well, there's nothing to see here. There's no evidence. Excuse me? There's no evidence? Are you blind? You willfully dishonest? My goodness. Did you see the video in Georgia? In the State Farm Arena, the sports arena there where they did the counting and the ballots.
The one that Salty Cracks did.
I have no idea. Salty Cracks is a little too profane. I can only watch them in small doses.
Crack or whatever. Yeah, a friend sent the video to me, but yes, I saw them pulling out after they said, okay, we're going to stop counting.
Right, and they sent
and
everybody out.
Left, and all the observers left, and then they started pulling like boxes out from under a table.
So at the testimony yesterday in Georgia, a Democratic member, I don't know if she's from the Secretary of State's office or she's a senator. I think she's a senator, but she's an ass. I'll say that much about her. After all the testimony's done, now let's be honest, some of the witnesses are mistaken about what they saw, like the last lady who's Hispanic. She's like something strange here, and what she gave basically was her view, but it wasn't really, I don't think, any evidentiary proof of what happened. But it could be looked into. But there were a number of witnesses who provided outstanding proof and evidence, including the video that the lawyer showed. And so when this Democratic operative or senator, whatever she is, says, well, this is, basically this is what she said. See, you have to understand that there's been a little bit of election fraud. Of course, there's a little bit of election fraud. There's a little bit in every time. It's not enough to overturn this election with only 13,000 vote difference out of 4 million votes. But it's not enough to overturn this because it's not widespread. That's the adjective they keep using. It's not widespread fraud. But you know what? I don't care if there's widespread fraud. If I've been defrauded at a 1 vote, I want to know about it. That's what I care. And I've always cared about that. But beyond that, here's the bottom line. Georgia election law requires that they allow the observers to be there and the votes be counted in the presence of observers, right? That's the law. Now, I'm not making the law up. The video clearly shows. Now she tried to argue and say, well, they left on their own merit. Well, it doesn't matter if they left on merit. If you are running an election, you're the chairman of the board or the canvasser or something like that, and you're supposed to have election observers there, and you send people out, and then you continue to work, that's fraud. It doesn't matter whether you committed an act that's wrong or not. You've undermined the integrity and you've interrupted the chain of custody. Now the observers are not part of the chain of custody, but they are part of the observing part of the chain of custody. And you violate all that. So all those ballots are invalid. I don't care if they voted for Trump or for Biden. If it's all for Trump, they're invalid. If they're all for Biden, they're invalid. This is criminal activity. It's a violation. Now, when I say criminal, oh, you're making moral, not making moral judgment. I'm going by the civil code of Georgia, which makes that a criminal act. They violated the law. And when they keep saying there's nothing to see here, that's utter nonsense. There's plenty to see here. We have the video footage. Well, no. And even here's the thing. She's like, well, we don't, those boxes, they might have been legitimate ballots. I don't care if those were legitimate ballots hidden in suitcases underneath a table that was put in place there and hidden from view for hours. If they were legitimate, that's wrong that they did it. They should have been in view where they could be seen. That's the first thing. The second thing is that they waited to count them until after they sent home the media and the observers. Why do you send home the media? I mean, you may not want the observers there because you're partisan, but the media is ostensibly an independent arbiter of what's going on, and they're just reporting the facts. So unless you're hiding something or doing something, and whether they did something wrong or not doesn't matter. They have given the impression of impropriety. They have left a stink of taint on this, and they have corrupted and invalidated those ballots. The same in Pennsylvania with the 682. Now, here's the question, Beth, that should be asked, and I haven't heard any media person ask this question. The Trump campaign and observers in Philadelphia and Allegheny counties claim that they were prevented from viewing 682,000 ballots. That's a claim. I've repeated that claim. You know why I repeat that claim? Two reasons. Number one, the press never bothers to ask, is it actually true? If I was a journalist and I was in Philadelphia, I would go find the poll observers. What's your name? Oh, it's Dan Johnson. Dan, okay, what's your job? I was a poll observer from the Constitutional Party at the Philadelphia Convention Center on the 3rd of December. Or 3rd of November. And so what did he observe? Well, I couldn't observe anything because we were kept in an antechamber. We weren't allowed to go into the room. From what time did you? That's what a journalist does. Not, well, there's no evidence. You have no evidence. That's not a journalist. That's propaganda. That's a statement. And they're completely disinterested. So to me, there must be legitimacy to the claim. But even beyond that, I know that in Philadelphia County, there clearly is legitimacy because I know the following fact. The Attorney General for the state of Pennsylvania, the top cop in the state, top prosecutor, on election day in Philadelphia County, the Republican poll observers were blocked. This is what they claim. They went to a judge. A judge issued an order to the court or to the election officials to allow the observers to observe. They came back to the place to try to observe, and they were still blocked. Meantime, the Attorney General of now that's all claim. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. I have no video footage. I'm just reading what's been written. But I do know that the Attorney General of Pennsylvania countersued to get another court to overturn that judge's opinion and won. Now, why would the Attorney General of the state of Pennsylvania, who represents all 12 million of us, not just the Biden campaign, why would he file a lawsuit to have a judge's order to allow authorized legal poll observers who were pre-approved to see it? So I know they were blocked from seeing it. The media doesn't even ask these questions. That's why they're frauds. They're absolute frauds.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. However, we've gone over the hour mark.
Hour? Who sets their time for an hour? What is this, Ronaldo? Roman? I wish Roman would go back to an hour and quit cutting into my show. That'd be great. If you could convince him to do that, I'd be happy.
If I could, I would. And he used to be very disciplined about keeping to an hour. So
he was.
Yeah.
He's not.
I don't know what's going on there.
And Ronaldo, when I set my time for 9:35, Ronaldo's like, why don't you just start it at 9? I'm like, because you never end your program at 9.
Yeah. Exactly.
Carter comes out, next thing you know, it's 9:30.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because everybody wants Carter to sing.
Exactly.
Anyway, well, this has been a very enlightening conversation, and from the comments, I think people have really enjoyed it. I'm sorry if we didn't get to any of the questions, if there were any. I was kind of concentrating on the conversation, and I'm sure everybody was enjoying it as well. So thank you, everybody, and thank you, Colonel, for joining me today. It's been an honor having you on Eleutheria. This has been Eleutheria, enlightening South Africa through liberty. Be safe out there because it's a crazy world, and don't wear a mask if you don't have to. Goodbye.